Development in the Nintendo Switch emulation world has occurred in the past few weeks. The CPU of the Nintendo Switch 2 has been successfully removed and re-implanted into the device with a successful boot. What does this mean for you as a Switch 2 owner, and if you should hold off buying the Switch 2 as of now? Let's talk about it in this video. In typical fashion, just want to say a quick disclaimer, just in case Nintendo makes me disappear real quick. This content is not made for the sole purpose of promoting piracy. It's simply created for speculation and educational purposes only. So viewer discretion is advised. Right, let's talk about it. So the Switch 2 emulation, is it all hype? What's the real lowdown? Here at the System Decoded, I can give you a unique perspective from a data scientist point of view. And in this video in particular, what we'll do is actually break it down into 3 parts. Number 1, what are the actual facts, what's actually happened, and why I think this is such a major development. Number 2, what was the framework utilized from a cybersecurity perspective? And number 3, I will, and this is the most important part of the video, I actually think the timelines have now shifted quicker based on this recent development. So make sure to stick around to the end of the video. So let's get into it. So what actually happened? A well-respected developer in the space, who I will keep anonymous for now, he managed to take it out, clean it up, label it, test it, and re-implant it into the Switch 2 and managed to get it to successfully boot. And this has huge implications moving forward, as I'll explain in part 2 of the video. The reason why this is so huge is because if you've been following the recent episodes, I basically explained that the way I think that the Switch 2 will be exploited isn't through software exploit, it's going to be through a hardware exploit. And I was quite skeptical on the safety mechanism, for example, voltage glitch detection and all this stuff. I do think that Nintendo has implemented security mechanisms, but I still think it's way overhyped based on a mid-range gaming PC, which is what the Nintendo is. Since the recent publications of my last 2 episodes, been such a variety of different penetration attempts onto the Switch 2 device, from individuals managing to copy modded files from Zelda Tears of the Kingdom into the Switch 2 from the original Switch 1. And also people have been making progress with the SD cards. So I do believe also that there will be an SD card for the Switch 2 move. For this part of the video, I'm going to give you the framework that is utilized by cybersecurity experts on how they hack every single device. This is the framework utilized to categorize. And once you actually understand this framework, it will all click, I promise you. So let's get into it. Introducing Fortress. By the way, this concept is so cool. I do understand for the cybersecurity heads out there that there are more steps, but I'm going to simplify it for the viewers. Phase 1 of Fortress is entry. So you need to pick how you're going to hack this device. Are you going to do this through internal or external? So obviously, because we own, well, most people own the Switch 2 device, we have internal access to the device, which is this thing, right? So we've got internal access. Now, if you was hacking a device from the outside, it's called external. The next way we will hack the device is what's known as insight. Insight breaks down into 3 different parts. These are black box, gray box, and white box. Black box is when you have no insights about the device. This thing is called gray box, and this is where you kind of have some documentation, some insight about what you're doing. And then you have white box, which is, I have all the documentation, I have all the blueprints. Nintendo is a public company. There will obviously be some insight. This is gray box right here. Beautiful. Okay. So we've got internal access with gray box knowledge. Now we have what's known as attack vector. So this basically classifies it as how we're going to actually attack this device. Network, physical, offline, and other. This developer has attacked the Switch 2 is through physical. And I believe also it's offline. And I'll explain that in a second. It's physical because we are literally trying to take out the CPU. So the primary focus, the big P, the primary focus is the Switch, right? The primary focus is the Switch, and the secondary focus is the CPU, okay? The reason why it's offline is because we do then need to get the firmware off a flash memory. We've covered the classification. We now can, what is this P? We now can move down to the actual reverse engineering pipeline. Keep in mind, by the way, in cybersecurity, you have to understand basic computer science principles. networks. There are two teams. There's the red team and the blue team. We are the red team, and Nintendo has hired a massive blue team. Ways you can hack someone through their network, but this is a hardware exploit, so we have to do what's known as reverse engineering. So let's talk about these 4 stages. PCB is opening it up and understanding the printed circuit board, analyzing chips. So basically finding out where the CPU is, where the RAM is, where flash memory is stored. You're trying to figure out, or taking a wild guess, where the firmware is going to be located, things of that nature. So that's step 1. That is called PCB recon. The hacker has successfully done this. Stage 2 is called electrical recon. This is where you open up the device. You basically do electrical test. You basically test voltages and things like that. This is solely so you just don't harm yourself or harm the device. The developer has managed to do this bit successfully. Stage 3, and this is where things will click now. Stage 3, signal recon, right? Now, in layman's terms, in simple terms, this is basically, how do I explain this? You're using logical analyzing to understand activity, but in simple terms, basically what he's doing, he's basically plugging in and testing what things are. He's trying to connect it and analyze, right, this is what this part does, this is what that part does, and that's where all the labeling comes in. And as you've seen from the photo, he's done this bit. So this is why I think this is such a huge development. And it also shows that Nintendo hasn't set up safety mechanisms, because despite him tampering with the CPU, he managed to put it back into the Switch 2 and get it to boot. Serial recon is the most important part. Now that the hacker has basically understood what all the different body parts do, he's now basically just watching it and trying to interpret how the device works. So how does the device boot up and things like that. Now, this hasn't been publicly disclosed as of now, and developers and hackers go MIA usually at this stage, because this is when you can get into trouble. He's then, for some reason, put the CPU back into the device, speculating that he's already interacted from a very surface level, and he's managed to put the CPU back into the Switch 2. Give this to me in simple terms, please, because I don't get why all this is necessary. What you need to understand is this. Once you understand where all the body parts are, you can access, and I explained this in the last video, the firmware. You can see where that gets loaded. You can see where that basically is. And what they do is basically what's known as dumping the firmware. And then that has its own life cycle on how to actually encrypt the firmware. It's how all emulation happens. We basically take the firmware and put it into an environment that is emulated. And that's why it's called emulation. Very simple. So that's the roadmap. And understand this guy, whoever he is here. He's already past this point. So I speculate the firmware is out there. And I think as of today's video, they are tinkering with the firmware. It's not being publicly disclosed, but if this one person has done it, I promise you, the hackers have already somehow got this firmware. Let's finish this off. Based on the information, and now that I've given you where we are, I've actually given you the roadmap and help you understand where the hackers are with the Switch 2. What are my timelines for the Switch 2 actually being emulated? I recently said 12 to 18 months because I didn't think the hardware could be hacked so quick. Now that I've seen the CPU literally be re-implanted into the device, I now think it's going to be around 6 to 12 months, not 12 to 18. And that's my final verdict. I truly believe in these underground hacking circles. The firmware is out there. It's just not being publicly disclosed yet because Nintendo do give huge lawsuits. And that's why it's very dangerous, literally from a financial perspective, to start publishing people's firmwares and things like that. Once that is hacked though, there will be a leak and then it will spread. But I don't believe that will just be leaked from a normal server. I believe that will come from some sort of decentralized server. Anyway, if you liked the video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'll keep you posted on any more advancements on the Switch 2. Make sure to check out the playlist. I've created a playlist on the previous 2 episodes. Check them 2 videos out because they set the foundations. And yeah, that's it for today. Until next time, make sure to have a beautiful, blessed day.